As promised, my interview with the Resources Minister, Josh Frydenberg, and I started by asking him what I think is the key question. When the budget is in deficit, how can any policy on either side of politics be fully funded?
Well, we have fully funded and fully costed all our policies, Laura, and as the Treasurer made very clear, when it comes to the company tax cuts, they are fully accounted for in the budget projections over the medium term, and it's a very good policy, that company tax cut, and the hypocrisy of the Labor Party to say that we hadn't fully funded and costed our company tax cuts and then to rely on the company tax cuts as a possible savings just doesn't make sense for the Labor Party.
Yeah, sure, but Chris Bowen also made the point that your budget centrepiece, as you've just described, in terms of this being an important policy, is 10 years, a $48 billion plan, but it doesn't have any offset savings. Why is that?
Well, it's fully accounted for in the budget projections in the medium term.
So if it's in the budget, does it mean it's fully costed?
It is fully costed, yes, and it's fully funded. And the point about the company tax cut is that for every $1 that we cut company tax rates, we will be boosting economic output by $4. Now, when Australia's company tax rate came in at 30 cents in the dollar in 2001, it was the 10th lowest in the OECD. Today, it's the 6th highest because other countries like the United Kingdom have dramatically reduced their company tax rate from 30 cents in the dollar down to 20 cents in the dollar, and Singapore and Hong Kong are below that, and New Zealand has a lower company tax rate than us, and we're competing against these countries, Laura, for investment and for jobs, and that's why we need to lower our company tax rate. Now, Bill Shorten is saying to the cafe owner who may have 5 or 6 staff and may have a turnover of more than $2 million that he won't give them a company tax cut. Now, that's just not good for the economy. It's not good for small businesses, which are the engine room of our economy, and it will not be good for the long-term health of Australia.
The government claimed there was about a $60 billion hole in Labor's costings at the beginning of the week. What was the strategy here? Because the Treasurer seemed to, have to clarify that quite quickly, but it did achieve something in flushing out Labor. Was that the strategy all along?
Well, the clarifications had to come from the Labor Party because you had that embarrassment just a few days ago with David Feeney on the school kids bonus, and you had Jenny Macklin saying as recently as yesterday that the Labor Party was going to keep it, and then you have Bill Shorten, without reverting to his shadow cabinet, announcing they were going to drop their plans to reinstate the school kids bonus. Now, that's a multi-billion-dollar change in Labor's position, and they've also made some changes as well around what we announced earlier around the pension and the assets test there. And so, therefore, Labor is making policy on the run. They're not reverting to their shadow cabinet, and they're being flushed out to account for their promises, because right now, Laura, they're trying to walk both sides of the street. They're trying to tell one set of voters that they are good economic managers, and the other set of voters that they're going to deliver them all these promises. Now, this goes back to actually Bill Shorten's, the way his modus operandi, because as Mark Latham revealed in his book about Bill Shorten, when it came to free trade agreements, that Bill Shorten said he had one position for the workers and another position for the political class. Now, that is just not on when it comes to budget and economic management.
Finally, can I ask you about the UNESCO report today? Why has Australia been excluded from this report? There's not one mention of Australia. That's a bit odd, isn't it?
Well, as you know, the Great Barrier Reef issue was dealt with in depth and extensively by UNESCO's World Heritage Committee last year, where it decided not to list it as in danger, and it actually praised Australia for its management of the reef and for setting world's best standards.
But was there political pressure here? Did the government put pressure on UNESCO to not name Australia?
Well, Greg Hunt's made very clear as the relevant minister he was not aware of this and he did not ask for this. And the point about the Barrier Reef is it is one of Australia's greatest assets. It's a tourist icon, and we are spending $2 billion over the decade in various reef protection measures. And we've put restrictions on dredging, we've put restrictions on port access, we're increasing the support for monitoring, we're working closely with the Queensland Government. This is a national icon, should be protected, and that's what the Coalition is doing and will continue to do.
As a student of international politics, particularly the United States, yourself, Josh Frydenberg, we've seen Bill Shorten once again weigh in and comment on Donald Trump. Do you think this is a sensible course of action? Wasn't he just stating the obvious?
Well, I'm scared enough with Bill Shorten getting control of the Treasury benches, let alone getting control of Australia's foreign and national security policy. And he has walked into this presidential debate with a very inappropriate statement, because as the alternative Prime Minister of Australia, he has to be much more delicate.
Okay,
this is
sure.
an issue
But what about these two
for the American people
that Donald Trump has said he wants to just print more money, that'll solve America's problems, and he wants to build a wall between Mexico and the United States? How would you describe those policies?
Well, obviously, these are very controversial policies. When it comes to printing more money, we want stability in international financial systems. We don't want trade wars. We don't want currency wars. When it comes to national security in our region, we want America's forward presence. And when it comes to their border with Mexico, that's an issue to do with domestic policy and how America tackles its border protection strategy.
Crazy, just a little bit crazy.
I won't go down that route.
Okay.
As the Prime Minister said, Laura, America is a great friend and ally. This is a decision on the presidency for American voters to make, not one for us to make here in Australia.
Well, we will see. We'll have to wait until November to find out what happens there. Josh Frydenberg, as always, thanks for your time.
Good to be with you.
A quick break here on The Latest. When we return, we'll have a look at the winners and losers of the week with News Corp's Samantha Maiden. Stay with us.